Now, a lot of our communications were among radio operators that were not familiar with the area. And one of the pieces of equipment, I know we had this here a couple of years ago, but this is a new version, is called the GeoSat, and they've been working closely with Kenwood Corporation and the Kenwood D5. And if you saw me the other day squawking as a sailboat while going down one of your roads, that was indeed me. But this is an APRS system that allows us to accurately track not only where we are by our latitude and longitude on the maps, but also see other radio operators by their call sign appear on the map. And there's one here, NY3H-2. Are they here in the room, NY3H? This is probably from Ham Radio University, but I'm going to pass this one around. I would never do this in California because I'd never see it, but here in New York, not a problem. Try not to touch the screen and it'll stay in the map. If it should jump out of the mapping function, I don't know, shake it or do something. But that is tied into APRS and mapping, and that's one of the things that we used during the firestorms to see where our Red Cross communicators were by their call sign. And if you look carefully, it should be a little blue circle and one of your operators on there.
Firm, be advised, emergency services have been notified, and fire and paramedics are en route to Avalon Canyon and Falls Canyon Road.
Now, that was the fire department. That was a regular fire department dispatcher working alongside the ham, and we recorded their side of the conversation. So when you hear his voice, that's the actual fire department comms. Probably not supposed to retransmit it here on the air, but we're doing it anyway. And the hams come in there. So now we got a school bus on its side, and that's all we know. Or actually just a bus. We don't even know if it's a school bus.
Overturned or upright.
The bus is on its side, and there's no name on the bus.
Control, KI6MRP, be advised that emergency services are out on other calls. There's going to be delayed response. We'll need a report from ham operators at scene on the number of patients that might be involved and if there's fire involved.
Now, isn't that great? He acknowledged that ham radio operators were on scene and were relaying all the information, and the reason that the emergency services were not able to immediately respond, they were fighting all sorts of fires both on the mainland as well as on Catalina Island. It gets better.
Did we get confirmation that it is a school bus with children as passengers?
Yes, there's approximately 20 kids.
Well, now we got a problem. 20 kids aboard a school bus on its side in a remote area of Catalina. They were trying to evacuate a school, and they evidently turned over while coming down the hill.
That control fire, would you check with our hospital resources and advise them of the number of casualties, and be advised that County Fire is ordering copters from the mainland at this time?
Now, I don't know if you have it out here, but we do in the West Coast, and that is ham radio operators that will respond to local hospitals to be the ears and eyes for that hospital because they're going to be tied up with incoming patients. We're transmitting how many patients the hospital can take, and we're doing this all on the ham radio bands to the Incident Command Center. And we used the NIMS course, ICS 100. How many have taken those FEMA courses, ICS 100, 200, and 700? They're on the internet, and that's how we have directed our comms.
That control fire, the initial count was 20 students on board with a driver, unsure of other people that are involved, probably 3 or 4 other adults.
Now, so far we know that the school bus is on its side, the hams are there. What we don't know is how many injured.
Net control call, Delta. Injury count, 1 death, 10 immediate, 112 lay, 5 walking wounded. Royal County Fire, 1 DOA, 10 immediate, 12 delayed, and 5 walking wounded. Be advised, we're setting up emergency resources are on scene at this time. We're setting up a triage area. We begin field treatment of the immediates and then transfer them to the hospital for treatment.
Now, that was on the ham radio 2-meter band. As you notice, when that operator who was on a handheld was checking in, his signal was rather noisy, and he meant to say 1 missing, and I think he said GOA, such as gone on arrival, or MIA, and they thought he said DOA. Well, luckily it was not a DOA. Happy to say about that. So we've got it almost all correct. And again, this is on the ham radio 2-meter band. Continuing.
School bus loaded with kids, and will need special extraction equipment and fast. Fire spreading on scene.
Oh, now it gets worse. Now the ham radio operator says that the engine compartment is beginning to get in flames, and now he's requesting a fire apparatus. So here, right in the middle of the firestorm, is this school bus, and it's all ham radio that's handling these communications.
Avalon and County Fire responding.
That was a cool dispatcher.
Be advised at this time we have units on scene. They are doing triage on the patients. We are aware of the fire spreading into the structures. Avalon and county volunteers have been activated and responding to scene to handle the fires. We do have county resources en route from the mainland, and the hospital has been notified of the casualty count.
Now that fella's not a ham yet, but he should be, because he speaks clearly and quickly, and he is one of the dispatchers at this remote islands fire department. But now things get even more intense.
Copy that. Be advised the Avalon and county volunteers have responded, and all fire is out at this time.
So they got the fire out of the engine area, but now they need the extraction.
Need some medication for one of our car victims.
Now this is great. Here is one of our ham radio volunteers that's a doctor. And the doctor knew exactly the medication that one of the students needed, and he says it so quickly that the other operator stumbles. And it's happened to all of us where you think they would know. Well, take a listen to what happens, V.
Yeah, 5 milligrams of amaldehyde acetylate. I spell Alpha, Mike, Lima, Oscar, Delta, India, Papa, India, November, Echo. Next word. Bravo, Echo, Sierra, Yankee, Lima, Alpha, Tango, Echo, 5 milligrams.
Now listen to the response.
Net control, I'm sorry, that was way too fast for me. Could you come again on that, please?
Yeah, that's happened to all of us. And as good trained ham radio operators, we need to read in our minds who we're communicating with. And here was a physician, and he was thinking he was on his med radio, and he said it rather rapidly, but he did use the phonetic alphabet, but this other operator was not prepared. As a good net controller, you should be prepared for almost anything. Even though you might not be able to say it, at least you should be able to write it down. So this continues on now.
Car that we just discovered halfway down the hill at Falls Canyon and Avalon Canyon.
Now we know why the bus overturned on its side. There's a second car that's been involved that they just discovered. Listen to this. She's a cool operator. This ham lady was only licensed about 6 months, and listen to how deliberately she says it like it is.
It is overturned on the south side of Avalon Canyon Drive. 2 occupants are trapped. We need the jaws of life. Both occupants are alive but severely injured. W6KLX.
Those happen to be FEMA personnel coming back from inspecting one of the fire-ravaged areas. They came around the corner, the school bus clipped them, school bus went on its side, and they went down the hill. No one knew it, but one of the ham operators looked over the hill and saw that there was also a vehicle involved as well. Things are heating up now on the side of the hill with the ham operators.
Repeat on that medicine name, please. Slower. We weren't able to get it down.
And now here comes that request again for, what was that medication a few minutes ago?
Hospital is near capacity with ER teams still able to take unrelated cases.
Now, here's a very important ham. Stationed at the hospital to be able to let those on the scene know that while the hospital is pretty well filled up, they still have ER teams available to take the incoming patients. So we see again the importance of ham radio. By the way, all the cell phones were out. There was no cell phone coverage because of the fire, the Southern California firestorm.